All right, folks. So this is less professional than I usually like to keep stuff. This is us just chilling out and doing a mock draft. More so, the reason I'm doing this is to have it to look back on in hindsight after the draft, because I feel like a lot of the time I have some pretty good takes that people just aren't going to believe because I don't have proof of it. Like last year, I got the first 7 picks correct, and then the team that screwed it up was the Panthers by taking J.C. Horn when I had him taking Rashawn Slater. And in hindsight, I was right, and they should have taken Rashawn Slater, but that's neither here nor there. So that's what we're doing here today, just doing a little mock draft for the purpose of me looking back on, basically.
Well, I mean, I think you got us into it pretty well. If you just want to roll into pick number one, which this is a weird year where we don't have really that clear cut number one guy at the moment. Um, there's a handful of players that we think can go on, but do the Jags do what the Jags do and surprise us all?
Well, Bulky said that he was down to 4 names,
Yep,
and I
and I
think
think I
just
think we know the four.
yeah,
I,
it's
I
Hutch, Walker, and then I'd say Ickham and Evan Neal.
I don't know if it'd be Evan Neal or Thib, but it's one of those two to come in the four spot. I think right now, looking at it, this pick is this is a weird year, man, because it's not very often that the first pick shakes up the entire draft. I think most teams come in here with a pretty good understanding of what their guys, what their other fellow GMs are thinking, and kind of have a good idea of what the draft board's going to look like it and where they're going to try to trade up if one of their guys is there. I don't think this is the year for that. I really don't. I think this is the year where everybody's kind of looking at each other saying, "Man, I there's a lot of players here that kind of graded out about the same at the same position, and you got to sit there and say, do you want the high floor and the lower ceiling, or do you want the absolute lowest floor you can think of, but the ceiling is through the roof?" And that's what
Yeah,
I come down to on this first pick, because while I do think that Hutch or Icky are the two safest picks that you can make here, I don't think that's what the Jags do. I don't see it.
I feel like, when there's smoke, there's fire. And that's where the whole Trayvon Walker thing comes in. And
There's a lot of smoke. There's
I
a lot
saw
of smoke.
I saw a report that was like Shad Khan wants Aiden Hutchinson and Trent Baalke wants Trayvon Walker. There's an interview where Baalke was specifically asked about Hutchinson and Walker, and he called Hutchinson a good player and he defended Walker's lack of production. So to me, like, if the pick isn't Trayvon Walker, it's because either Doug Peterson or Shad Khan came in and stiff armed the pick. If I'm like just using context clues from what we know, assuming the reports I read are correct, I think it's Shad Khan wants Hutchinson, Bulky wants Trayvon Walker, and I'd assume Doug Peterson probably wants Ickham. And it's just going to be who is the one that makes the decision at the end of the day. And honestly, with the Jags offseason, I don't know who that is. Shad Khan's a very hands-off owner. Balky's kind of a power-hungry type guy, but I also think Doug Peterson has some roster control. So I know Balky's on a short leash, so maybe at this point Doug outranks him. I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville, but probably the power struggle between those three determines this pick. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to predict that Balky wins that power struggle and the pick is Walker.
I'm right there with you. And Trayvon Walker is a player that I do like. I'm not gonna say that I don't like him, but I think you need to acknowledge the fact that Trayvon Walker in college didn't have elite production. What he did show you though was some flashes on tape that show a lot of fun with a physical specimen that he is. There is a lot there to like, but you have to realize that you're starting at a lower spot with him than you are with Hutchinson. If you're willing to take that and develop it, and if you are a team that can develop it, which this is the Jags and you're picking at one for a reason, okay? I'm not going to throw any shots out there, but now's the time when you have to come in, you have to start developing these players because you took Trevor Lawrence last year. That's a guy that was looked at for 3 years of his college career. It was like, that's the next Peyton Manning. Don't waste him. I mean, don't waste him. And this is one of those times. This is a year, honestly, where I think if you're picking one, personally, I get out of this pick and move back, and I try to say, hey, give me a haul for it. Whoever wants Hutch, Walker, or Thib, or whoever you think needs to go one, take them. Or I take my tackle right here because this offensive line needs some help. I mean, I think we'd be delusional to say that this offensive line couldn't use some help, but at the same time, somewhere along the line, we need to get some weapons for Trevor Lawrence. And I'm sorry, but Christian Kirk is not that guy. So
the Jags just so weirdly ran because they franchise tagged Cam Robinson and they still have Jawan Taylor. So one of those guys would get kicked into guard if they drafted Evan Neal, or if they got Ike Mekwonu, I guess he would play guard. And they brought in Arden Key, and they had Kayvon Chason in the first round last year. And they also have Josh Allen. So the team is just set up really weird for this pick.
it is, and that's where I look at it, and I'm like, well, there's this is a team with so many holes. Eventually, we have to start hitting on picks, and we have to start saying, okay, these are the guys we're going to stick with. And I don't know if the edges available here fit that mold that you're looking for with what they've got. I mean, Josh Allen is a very versatile 3-4 outside linebacker. I think we can agree on that. He's a versatile player. And I think that's what they look for in Kayvon Chason. So I don't know what fits here, but I'm going to lock in my pick and say it's Walker.
Yeah, I think we've talked enough about the Jags. I think that if they pick Walker, it's not going to turn out well for them. That's kind of my entire point of doing this. I'm going to say what I think the teams are going to do / should do, and if it's going to work out or not, so I can look back at this in hindsight. I don't think Trayvon Walker to the Jags is going to work out. So throwing that out there, hopefully I'm right. On to the Lions. Now, my hot take for a long time has been, I think Dan Campbell loves Malik Willis, and I've been kind of a harper for Malik Willis at 2 for a while now. But at the same time, with how weird this class is, and we've talked like how the Jags would probably want to get out of 1 and trade back and get an equally as good player along with some capital. All of these teams right here want to trade back. Some teams have picks like 1 through 20, all graded like similar caliber players. So there really isn't going to be much trading back outside of maybe the Steelers coming up for a Willis if he slips. And the Lions GM said at pick 2, it doesn't matter the position, they want a game changer. And I don't know if a quarterback who's going to sit his first year is going to be a game changer. So to me, the biggest for sure thing and game changer on here is probably Aiden Hutchinson.
Now, here's a player I like, and if you want to dig up my old tweets, you can find a while back. I don't know if you remember, Connor, but we talked about it a few years back when guys were looking at other edges that were coming out of the University of Michigan. I saw Aiden Hutchinson as what I think was a sophomore at the time and said, whoever that kid is playing on the edge, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good. I never expected him to turn into a number 2 overall, pick. Or even be in contention for the first overall pick. I expect him to be a first rounder, though. And he did not disappoint this year. The man was disruptive in every game that Michigan needed him to be disruptive until they ran into Georgia. To be fair, those are 2 completely different levels of program. But Hutch did what he needed to do in every game possible, and I think this is a no-brainer pick. Hutch's floor, very high. Do I think his ceiling's as high as what you could see in a Thib or a Walker? No. But I think that the floor is high enough that you go ahead and you take this player here that has maybe he's not the best athlete, but he's put together some game tape that was fun to watch against some really good programs.
Yeah, and before we finish on this pick, I just want to point out how the fact that the Lions were a just abhorrent team after the Matthew Stafford trade. Their quarterback is terrible. That roster last year didn't have much talent at all, but Dan Campbell did a really great coaching job, even though they weren't winning much, and brought in heart and passion into the team. And while I think a quarterback is extremely important, Aiden Hutchinson is a local Michigan guy. He just threw out the first pitch at the Tigers game. He's a local guy, and if you can keep him at home, that's going to excite the fans. Aiden Hutchinson is very much a football guy, and I think Dan Campbell really wants a football guy to come in and be that game changer that their GM was saying. And, you know, we were talking about how some of these QBs can slide. If the Lions don't take a QB, we don't know who else is going to take one. Maybe they use this 32nd pick to come up and get one of those other quarterbacks, whether that be Malik or somebody else. So, yeah, this is Hutch.
Yep, and I think that's a safe pick there. Here we come going into. I know we said the first pick was difficult. Welcome to the Houston Texans. That nobody ever knows what's going to happen. Is there a position that the Texans don't need?
Well,
just to be clear.
I know you're not on PFF, but PFF has their needs as everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking at here. They're honestly the only position I think is safe right now with the Houston Texans is quarterback. I like what Davis Mills came in and did last year. I think he was the best rookie quarterback in the class. To be fair, I did not have that wrote down before the draft, but he came in, he surprised me with not a whole lot of help around him. Thing about the Texans here, there's a lot that needs to be done. But where do you value this draft? Okay. There is some top end tackles here. You have Laramie Tunsil, but how much longer do you have him? This is such a difficult pick because we have elite players at a lot of positions of need. I honestly don't know where I value this pick because I think this could be a shocker, and I think Derek Stingley could go here. I'm not going to lie. But is that the pick? Is that the guy who should go here?
The guy who I would take here, and you're going to disagree with this just because of positional value, but I'll stand by the fact that I think Kyle Hamilton is the best player in this draft. And look at who the Texans had at safety. I get that the Texans aren't a great team, but they sign like these mid-tier free agents, so they have like a solid roster, but they don't have any of those star players that can take them to the next level. Like, if they had a couple star players, like, their roster wouldn't be bad, but they just have a bunch of mid players. But I look at their safeties last year, and it was Eric Murray and Eric Reed. Eric Reed is gone, and Eric Murray is probably the worst safety I've ever seen. So I would go and get the best player in this draft in Kyle Hamilton and just say that you can walk away with, in my opinion, the for sure best player in the draft because you just need talent.
I disagree with that entirely. 3 is too high for a safety. You know, I will never forgive the Giants for what they did taking Saquon at 2. I don't care where I grade you as a player. Positional value comes down to something that's needed. I'm not taking a safety at 3 here because that position isn't going to be what it needs to be, especially when we're looking at Kyle Hamilton. I don't really see him as a deep free safety. I see him as an in-the-box kind of player. And while that is good, what do I value here? Do I value that corner that's going to come in and say, you're not throwing to this side of the field? Do I value the edge that says, well, I'm just not going to let you throw the ball? Or do I value the tackle that says, stay off my quarterback because I want to win games? And right now in the Texan situation where you're going to lose one of your starting tackles probably in the next year, I think you bring in the tackle. I think you bring in an elite tackle. And I think here's where I have Ikem Nkwonu going.
Okay.
I think it's a premier position at a spot of need, and I think it helps the team right now. And that's something I value, especially when you're like the Texans and you're picking again at 13, where that safety may still be on the board.
Right. I
think you take the position of value because let's be honest, there's a chance that the Giants are taking a tackle. Do I have it as Ikem Nkwonu or Evan Neal? No, but I do have them taking a tackle. I think the Panthers are a likely team to take a tackle. I think the Seahawks are a likely team to take a tackle. Even honestly, right now, even the Washington football team, the Commanders, whatever we're going to call them nowadays, they're going to need a tackle. So I think you're sitting in a spot right now to get an elite tackle. You take an elite tackle.
I can understand.
That's a position you're probably not going to get later.
I can understand that line of thinking with Ickham here, but part of me wants to go Thibodeau because he's such a weird player to me. I think you can make the argument that he's the most talented player in this draft easily, but the issue with him is his interviews, and I've heard that basically it sounds like the Giants are turned off on him. It sounds like the Jets are out on him. Doesn't sound like the Jaguars or Lions want him, but granted, we haven't heard too much, but it sounds like there's some mutual interest between him and the Texans. He's compared himself to Jadeveon Clowney and said he wants to be a Texan. So I think they could go him here, but hell, he might even be there at 13 with just how weird his stock is this year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just as much as I like Fib and I could see him going here, I think that there's enough edges in this class that I think that where the Texans are picking, there's a good chance that they can sneak one in at the beginning of the second round. And I have a lot more faith in the tackle class right now than I do in some of the last edges remaining. So,
whatever. We've spent too much time here. Let's just get the safe pick in Equanu out the way and move on to the Jets.
Alrighty. Now, after what we've been hearing today, I don't think this is going to be a difficult pick for us to make. I think it's between 3 players, maybe 4.
I already have the guy queued up who I'm going to take. In my mock draft that I did just the other day, I had Kayvon Thibodeau going here because I figured, Robert Saleh coming from the Niners, they love their pass rushers. Maybe he views Thibodeau as having that Nick Bosa impact that the Niners had the year they went to the Super Bowl. And, they drafted D linemen like 5 straight years. So I thought that there's a good chance that Thibodeau goes here. That's a mouthful.
Say that 5 times fast.
But anyway, I saw a report today, and
I saw the same report. I think we're both leaning the same way here.
They prefer Jermaine Johnson for some reason.
Which is interesting to me. I do see what there is to like there, but I don't. He is not over. He's not over a couple edges I actually have remaining on my board right now. I definitely don't have him over Thibodeau. I don't have him over Boye Mafe. I don't have him over David Ajabo with a torn Achilles. So, this is an interesting place to fall, but I think this pick comes down to one of 3 players. It's either going to be Jermaine Johnson, Derek Stingley, or Ahmad Gardner. But I think if I was to make the pick right now, what we're hearing, it sounds like Jermaine Johnson's their guy at 4. This kind of feels like a Clellan Ferrell type pick a few years back with the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders now. But I think it's Jermaine Johnson. I don't think it's right, but that's where I'm predicting it.
Because again, we're kind of giving our analysis on these picks just for the benefit of hindsight, listening back to it. I should throw out the fact that I think Ickham would be a solid pick there. Maybe they could do a little better, but Ickham's a very good player. But Jermaine Johnson, obviously we're Chiefs fans, and I see a lot of things about Jermaine Johnson's biggest strength. He's not a great pass rusher, but he can set the edge. And the term setting the edge has given me such bad PTSD from the Frank Clark saga. I do not want to touch somebody whose biggest strength is setting the edge.
And that's where me and you will differ. The terminology is something that will never scare me off of a player. But when I see a player is very clearly better than the other, it's hard for me to back down and say, okay, that's who I'm going to let him take. So right now,
we'll just go Jermaine Johnson.
I think it's Jermaine Johnson, and I like I said, I don't know how I feel about that, but it feels likely. Alrighty, moving on to the New York Giants pick at number 5. This is another pick that I'm pretty confident in knowing what's going to happen here. It is the Giants, so I don't think any of us would be surprised if they surprise us. But they do have some flexibility here, having pick 5 and 7.
Just
So
weird.
they can come across with some really blue chip players here if they play their cards right. Well, Connor, I'll let you start this off because I think we both have the same pick in mind after hearing what we've been hearing from them.
Yeah.
Let's see if you're leaning the same way I am.
Yeah, I sent you a report that said the Giants are reportedly high on Charles Cross, and that a lot of Giants reporters believe that he's going to be the pick here at 5. So I'm going to trust that they're right. And I admit that this is a very odd pick. I feel like if you want a tackle here, especially with Ickham gone, it would have to be Evan Neal. Just taking Charles Cross there seems kind of interesting to me. But if I'm the Giants, I'm looking at Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett at this point because I do not like Daniel Jones. But I mean, I
But
guess a good tackle doesn't hurt.
But we have been hearing that they believe the new coaching staff, the new front office there believes that they haven't done enough putting pieces around Daniel Jones, and I do agree with that. They've really tried to piece together an offensive line, and while I don't believe that Daniel Jones is a top end starter in the NFL, I do believe that there's potential there that he is a starter in the NFL. But you have to protect him. He's a quarterback you're going to have to protect. You're going to have to make a lot of concessions for him to be valuable to your offense. So let's make the pick right here. Charles Cross going number 5 to the New York Giants. It's 2 tackles off the board and 3 edge players. It's an interesting top 5.
Locking up the line of scrimmage here. But I
really,
think 6. I think one of two things happens here at 6.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here once again.
I think the Panthers either move back or take a quarterback. Because I don't.
Okay. Well, I'm at a different landing spot than you.
I don't know if Evan Neal is the option here. Because right now they have their pick of quarterbacks.
They do have their pick of quarterbacks, but do they value those pick of quarterbacks? We've seen reports coming out of the NFL that a lot of front office people don't like what they see in Kenny Pickett. Understandable. There's a floor there, but there is, like a lot of people have said, well, the floor is the ceiling. And that's not something you want to hear out of a first-round quarterback. So I think quarterback's off the board for them, unless Malik Willis is their guy, but I don't know if that's the route they're going to want to go, I understand that they had an athletic quarterback before in Cam Newton, and maybe that's something they like and value, but is this the year that you want to take that chance, or do you want to say, hey, let's get some good pieces this year, let's come back next year and try this again? Because let's be honest, the Panthers are not in a win-now spot. While their division was open for a minute, we do have to look at the fact that Tom Brady came back to the Bucs, and the Bucs are going to win that division this year. I don't think there's a question. I think we know what's happening there. I think that the Panthers are in a spot where if they do trade back, it's to get more picks, but I don't think they take a quarterback this year.
I think this is going to be the first spot we differ here because I'm going to give them a quarterback. Their next pick isn't until like the 4th round. There's a major gap from 6 on, so I think they want to move back here and still ensure that no one's going to take a quarterback. If there's a scenario where they could trade back and still get their pick of quarterback, I think they're 100% going to do it.
Okay, and then hear me out. Before we do anything irrational, there's one team I can see coming up for a quarterback. Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh could make a move here. We have 2 different conferences having some talks to do a trade. This could be a win-win for both teams. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Now, do we think we know who Pittsburgh's quarterback is? I have no idea who they'd want because we've only seen them with Big Ben for so long, and now we're at Mitch Trubisky. We've seen Duck Hodges, we've seen Landry Jones, we've seen the players that they have brought in and moved through. I don't think they would come up this high for Willis, though, which I think that's the guy you have to come up for in this situation. But is that the guy that they do it for?
Okay, let me tell you what I'm thinking right here. I'm thinking because Carolina needs a starter next year. Ben McAdoo bit his tongue really quickly when talking about Sam Darnold starting next year. And I think that either they could do what you say and be like, oh, well, Evan Neal's here. We started Cam Irving at left tackle last year. Let's go ahead and get that left tackle and then trade for Baker Mayfield. Or they've really been doing their homework on quarterbacks, and I feel like they're pretty much set in on taking a quarterback. And I don't think anybody thinks that Malik is ready to start next year. So then the conversation comes between Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder. And I'm probably gonna go Pickett here.
Pickett to who?
Carolina.
I don't see it. I think that's a bad pick, and I don't think that's something I see them doing. I think this is a situation where we're looking at, we have a team that's not in a spot to compete next year. They need to get assets and become a better football team. I think the one way you do that is you trade back. You say, shit, we'll go back to 20 with the Steelers and let the Steelers come up and get their quarterback of the future if that's what they see. I don't think we're making the right selection there by giving the Panthers a quarterback at 6. None of these quarterbacks grade inside the first round for me. I'll be 100% honest when I say that. I genuinely don't see a franchise quarterback in this draft class. I'll be the first one to say it. I see a bunch of guys who are going to come into the league and be backups for pretty much their entirety of their career.
I think it's cool if we differ here. It just shows like, because you're doing your own on the Draft Network, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's okay if we differ here. You'll probably go Evan Neal, right?
No, I actually have a trade happening.
Pittsburgh?
Yep, I have Pittsburgh coming up. And I did it for the Panthers are walking away with pick 20 in this year's class, second in the first next year. But I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up and making a splash. They come up and get their guy. They're going to take Malik Willis, a quarterback with a lot of upside. Like I said, I don't know if he's a franchise guy, but a lot of upside there. And if there's a staff I trust to come in and make something happen, it's probably the Steelers. They've been, the rock of consistency, the model of consistency inside of the AFC North. We're going to see if they hold strong. I have Malik Willis going number 6 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, I'm going to do something pretty similar. I'm going to have the Panthers take their guy and pick it here. And all reports that I've seen are saying that Pittsburgh loves Malik Willis in the same vein that they loved Najee last year. And Pickett goes here to 6, and that is going to set off some alarm bells for Mike Tomlin. And the Giants have been very clear with the fact that they want more lottery tickets in this draft. That's why you see him shopping James Bradbury and Kadarius Toney. Toney might be a guy that we pick up conversations about later in this mock draft, depending on how the receivers fall. But where are the Pittsburgh Steelers? I think that Pittsburgh comes up the very next pick with New York. And I think that package that you were talking about is fine with next year's first, and then pick 52 or pick 84 to the Giants to come up.
Yeah, and I mean this is such a pick that I do see happening. This is a pick I like. I like the Steelers getting their quarterback here. Here at 7, I'm gonna have the Giants staying pat. And I think we've seen that they have decided that, hey, we need to work on the trenches. And I have a guy going here at number 7 who shouldn't be on the board. Kayvon Thibodeau, edge out of Oregon, is my pick at number 7 for the New York Giants.
Very respectable.
I
So
think
on
they're really good in their first 2 picks. Charles Cross, probably not the tackle I would have taken, but that's who they like. And then they come back and get their edge of the future.
I think that's probably pretty close to a dream scenario for some Giants fans. On to the Falcons. This is another weird pick to me. I don't know what the Falcons do. I guess because I still have Kayvon Thibodeau on the board. They might want to go Kyle Hamilton. They might want to get a Sauce Gardner. I don't know what their tackle situation's looking like. What are you thinking for the Falcons here?
In a perfect world, if Kayvon Thibodeau was on the board here for them, I think that's the pick. But as we know, that didn't happen. So we fall in that fun situation once again where what do you do here becomes a more and more question of this class grading out of very, very, very similar time and time again. I think wide receiver is going to be the pick here. Calvin Ridley's out for the season. He's not going to be there, and he's probably going to end up getting traded. I think we know that. So I say we do what we know can be done here. Let's look at wide receivers. Let's see who do we think they value.
I'm gonna guess it's Williams or Olave.
And that's kind of where I don't know if it's gonna be. Man, that is hard.
It's not hard for me. Thibodeau is still on the board for me. So
here's the thing. There's one player that falls on the top side of this class that I don't really. Well, there's two wide receivers that fall on the top end of this class that I don't really understand. And that's Garrett Wilson and Drake London. As much as I like Garrett Wilson, I don't know what puts him above Jameson Williams or Chris Olave. I really don't. I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing it. And Drake London, I'm not a fan. Maybe I don't have a reason that I'm not a fan, but I'm not. And I don't think there's anything to be said about that. I think we're going to go back to the old tree that we know Atlanta likes to pick from. They like their Alabama wide receivers.
And so I guess you're going to go Jameson Williams.
I think Jameson Williams goes here at 8. It's a good fit. There's a lot of similarities, I think, between him and old Calvin Ridley. And I think we're going to see that come head on right here. Now,
this is a no-brainer to me.
We have a fun pick. I think it's an easy pick, though.
Evan Neal.
Evan Neal is a Seattle Seahawk. They've neglected this offensive line for years. It's part of the reason why they had to get rid of Russell Wilson. You were able to, gain resources there that you gave up for a Jamal Adams. And Jamal Adams is actually part of the reason that I don't think we could even think about adding a Kyle Hamilton here, as good of a player as he is, and as much as a Seahawk fit that kind of feels. I think that they've overspent on safety as it is. The only other player I could really see them going here, well, there's 2 other players I could see them going here, would be Ahmad Gardner and Derek Stingley. But to be honest,
I think they're more likely to go Gardner than Sidney.
I think you're right, but I think it'd be a no-brainer. Offensive line, get I think the best player available that's still on the board. Take Evan Neal.
Oh, yeah, and another thing, as you can see my profile picture on Streamlabs today, just for the day, is Drew Lock, because I was hoping that one of these tackles would fall to the Seahawks. I know you're not a Lock fan, but I am. So as a Lock fan, I know that Fangio never really believed in him. So the Seahawks taking a tackle here instead of a quarterback or something like that would really excite me as a Drew Lock fan, because I still believe in the kid, and to me this is like his last shot, so giving him a tackle to protect him would really excite me just as a Drew Lock fan. And I know before we started recording we were discussing the possibility of this happening, and you didn't think it would happen, but for the fun of it, there's been a lot of rumors about the Jets potentially being willing to trade pick 10 straight up for Deebo Samuel. So for the sake of the mock, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And if I'm being honest, my pick is the same, whether this is the Niners or the Jets. So yeah, I'm going to be picking for the Niners here at pick 10. And again, I still have Jameson Williams on the board. So whether or not it's the Niners or the Jets, that's who the pick is to me. So who do you have the Jets taking here?
I think right now we're looking at the Jets, a team that really does have holes. But with Robert Saleh there, I think we know that the defense needs to be it needs to be addressed eventually. So there's two players on my mind. Well, there's three players. I'll be 100% honest. There's three players I really like here. I think Robert Saleh would really like a guy that is a game changer. And I think you're going to like the pick that I'm going to make here. I'm going to take safety out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton here to the New York Jets. Maybe it's not the right pick, but man, it could be a lot of fun. What do you think? Before I lock this pick in, I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I was actually about to have Hamilton go the very next pick, but I love the kid.
And that's where I fit is Kyle Hamilton graded out as one of the top players in his class for me. He's one of the guys that really put himself ahead of the others. And, the Jets got rid of Jamal Adams. We all remember that pick or that trade. I think they did a good job there. They got a lot of resources out of him. Seattle definitely overpaid for him. So let's go ahead and replace him with a better player. I know earlier I said I see Kyle Hamilton more as a box player, and maybe that's just because of his testing numbers. Because, man, I go back and look at his tape, and I don't see how that number is real. I really don't. The man plays with, like his fucking head's on fire when he's on the field. Kyle Hamilton's probably my favorite player in this class. I have him going here to the Jets, which is just rude of me. But I hope he goes to the Jets, and I hope Robert Saleh is able to make him a defensive superstar that I think he can be. And I don't think the lights in New York are too bright for him.
Take all of that for me, but replace Robert Saleh with Ron Rivera because I have him going the very next pick to the Washington Commanders.
I like it.
When we saw them make the playoffs, the strength of the team wasn't the quarterback or anything. It was that stout defense. And if Chase Young can stay healthy, Jonathan Allen's great on that defensive line too. Montez Sweat.
Deron Payne.
I know you said Kyle Hamilton is more of a box guy, but if you have him roaming around the secondary when you already have that stout of a defensive line, assuming it can stay healthy, that defense immediately gets a lot better.
And I agree. I mean, even if Kyle Hamilton comes in and just becomes that strong safety, that extra linebacker in the box, I don't think that's a bad thing to have. I have a pick here for Washington that I think's gonna help that defense in a different kind of way. I think he's a player that's been on the board a little too long right now. So here he comes off the board. Ahmad Gardner, cornerback, Cincinnati, the number 4 overall player on the TDN board, comes off here to the Washington football team. Ron Rivera is going to love this player. You want a lockdown man. He's going to help you close up this field. I mean, good luck scoring points in this defense. That is what I have to say. Good luck.
Yeah, coincidentally, we're kind of chasing each other here. That's who I have the Vikings taking. I'm gonna
this is gonna be fun because right now I have the Vikings taking a player at the same position. So,
and I'm gonna have him go to Houston. I'm just gonna say that right now.
So we got a little off kilter here. So you have Ahmad Gardner going to play with Pat Pete up there. Or no, sorry, you have Ahmad So you have Ahmad Gardner going to the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that's a good fit.
Going to pair up with Pat Pete, I like it. I think they're
going to be ecstatic by that. And the Texans here just want best player available, and that is probably going to be Derek Stingley. So
for me, I'm going to send a LSU Tiger to stay in the purple and match up with one of the best to ever do at LSU with Pat Pete. Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback, LSU, goes number 12 to.
Oh, well, that sounds more fun than mine now that you make the LSU connection.
Yep. They the Vikings have something about corners that wore the color purple. If it's Gladney or if it's Stingley, I think that's going to be it. So here we are back on the board for the Houston Texans. Wow, I just had a blank there for some reason. This board did not fall good for them. I'm going to be 100% honest. There's a lot of good players still available, but it is definitely not the ideal situation for the Texans in my mock draft.
They were a pick off.
They were a pick off, which if that is not the story of the NFL draft, you're always a pick away, and here they are, a pick away. So who you have the Texans taking Derek Stingley, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm going to have him stick corner. I think we're going to have a little bit of a corner run here, but I think that's a little bit higher than a lot of people have had this player mocked. I'm going to look over my board one more time, make sure that I like this. I think I'm changing my mind the more I look at this board. I think I'm changing my mind. I don't know. I'm conflicted here, Connor. I'm conflicted.
BPA.
Well, and see, that's where I'm at right now. Is there's a lot of wide receivers available, which I don't like because my favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs, needs a wide receiver. Thankfully, there's a lot of them, so I imagine one makes it there.
There's one I have my heart set on.
There's a few I have my heart set on. But who feels like a Texan? Man, this is tough. I don't like how I set my board up now because now I am lost. Because a part of me says the Texans need help. Go Jordan Davis.
For the love of God, don't go Jordan Davis because he's my pick 14.
Well, that's the problem. Is that's where I have him slotted as pick 14. That's where I think he's gonna go. You know what? I think this is where I'm just gonna have to say to hell with it. I think this is gonna be a shocker for some people, but I think the Texans need help in the receiving room, and they're gonna get some here. They're gonna go wide receiver out of USC, Drake London.
Thank God we're gonna even up for a second here.
Yep, I don't think that personally. I'm not a big Drake London guy, but the league seems to love him. I'll slot him in there.
All right.
Well, we both gave up our pick for what we think Baltimore is going to do. So let's just go
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis out of Georgia. Big, strong freak of an athlete. Georgia just had a defense this year that's special.
Jordan Davis could very well be a top 5 player out of this draft class. I absolutely love him.
If it wasn't for positional value, he probably goes higher. Yeah, Jordan Davis.
PFF has him below Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, Devontae Wyatt is so good too. Those two guys side by side, just beautiful.
It's frankly a travesty because I don't care for Baltimore that Jordan Davis goes there, but that's a great pick for them.
Yeah, I agree. And here we are now on to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I don't know what you're seeing right now, but I see a lot of needs for this team. And I'll just list off the top 3. I think one of the positions is no longer really available for them to draft at this point. But cornerback, edge, and wide receiver, they're top 3 that I see on the board right now. I think wide receivers really needed. At the same time, there's one corner on the board that really kind of feels like an Eagle to me. McDuffie feels like an Eagle to me.
I think it ultimately comes down to the fact that just the Chargers need a corner. Do the Saints need a corner? But both the Chargers and Saints need a receiver. So just based on need, would the Eagles go receiver here first?
I mean, who do they have outside of your boy Devontae Smith.
Jalen Rieger and JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Nope.
We're going receiver then.
Yeah, we're going receiver. Now I think here comes the fun part. The Eagles are very well known for taking the receiver we don't think they should take. Do they take Garrett Wilson here over Chris Olave?
Probably.
I think so. He kind of reminds me a little bit. He's a little bit of a. I don't know. Garrett Wilson's a fun player. I don't think he's really cut a mold quite like Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave is honestly the most polished receiver in this class, if that makes sense. I think he's the best all-around receiver, but I think Garrett Wilson's a good fit for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, you're an Eagle, Garrett Wilson. This one is a no-brainer to me. I think that the Saints are going to go Chris Olave here. They like Ohio State wide receivers. They need an Ohio State receiver back. And to me, I think there's a very realistic argument for Chris Olave being the best receiver in this draft. So to me, there's not really any hesitation here. Chris Olave going to the Saints.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. Good pick. Chris Olave, arguably one of my favorite wide receivers in this class too. I have a few guys ranked ahead of him. One of them's already off the board, I believe. Yep, one of them went off the board already at 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. The other one, hopefully, he's on the board at pick 29 or 30.
I'm kind of going a little weird here with the Chargers, and I'm feeling Trevor Penning.
Okay. I understand it.
It just seems kind of like a Chargers pick because I feel like they tend to go after athleticism, and Trevor Penning is that athletic guy with the attitude. Stick him at right tackle. We obviously know how important it is to keep Justin Herbert upright, and I think you can go ahead and secure that right tackle spot right here.
Yep, I like it. Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa, needs a little bit of work, but there's something there to like.
He just feels like a Charger.
Yeah, he kind of does. I don't know what it is. The Eagles make it back onto the board at pick 18, and I think the pick here isn't hard for me to make.
McDuffie,
cornerback out of Washington. They swung at a wide receiver at 15. They're going to take a swing at a corner here at 18.
Yeah. Let me just point out the fact that I love Trent McDuffie as a player. Like, he's a little undersized, but whoop-de-doo. He's a football guy. He loves playing the game. He'll play any position in the secondary. Kind of reminds me of a better version of Juan Thornhill when he first got to the Chiefs. He said he'd be willing to kick just to get on the field. So that's something I really like in a player. And the Eagles have Darius Slay and basically the Backyardigans out there in the secondary. They've been rumored to be tied to Tyrann Mathieu. Maybe that becomes a thing. But you can put McDuffie outside in the slot at safety. You can put him wherever, and he's going to ball. So I think it's a great pick here for Philly.
Yeah, I like it.
This is weird.
Let me look at something before I say it, because I think I have an idea what I want to do here. I think it's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna happen, isn't it? Yep. Okay. This is gonna piss some people off.
I might know where you're going with this.
I'll let you lead into it then, because this is a fun one.
Are you thinking tackle?
There's a thought there. There is a thought there.
Because
there's a tackle who's been rumored to go a lot higher than we think.
I don't want to put Bernard Raymond in my mock draft, but it feels like a Saints pick.
It feels like it. They've got their safe pick in. Now is your time to swing.
Who was the guy they took last year? I can't even remember his name. Just a random Houston defensive end.
Peyton Turner.
Yeah, I had no idea who he was even before the draft, and they took a swing on him.
I knew who he was, didn't see it coming. But I feel like they need a tackle, and I think this is their guy.
Yeah, I don't want to do this, but it feels realistic.
It feels right. That's kind of where I was at.
And I like the Saints, and I want the best for them, and I don't think that's a great pick, but
we've been wrong before on tackles, so what happens. here we are. The Carolina Panthers are back on the board for me.
I got the Giants.
Yep, you've got the Giants here. For me, right now, Panthers are in a position that it is, hey, we need to continue to build a team and build an offensive line. There are a few players on the board here that I think are really good, and I'm going to have them taking Zion Johnson, interior offensive lineman out of Boston College here at 20.
Okay, I'm stuck between two players, and I'm going to describe both of them because I think whichever one doesn't go here goes the next pick. It's between George Karlaftis and Nakobe Dean for me. I think their picks 20 and 21 here. Karlaftis has been like rumored to be like edge 3 at different points in the draft, and he's kind of fallen a little bit, but there's still that potential there. So while the Giants didn't get a Thibodeau or anybody in this mock, they still could walk away with Pittsburgh's first next year and a Karlaftis. Or we know linebacker has been an issue for the Giants for a long time, so maybe they shore up that position with Nakobe Dean. I'm going Nakobe Dean Karlaftis 2021 here, but the order doesn't really matter. What do you think of which one's more likely to go first, Karlaftis or Dean here?
As of right now, I think neither of them are going to end up in the first round.
Really?
Yeah, you know where they say what they say, when there's smoke, there's fire. I believe there's a lot of truth to that. As much as I love Nakobe Dean, and I think he is a first round pick, we often see we see a lot of linebackers get left out of the first round just because of positional value. Do we see it happen here again? There's a good chance. If I had to bet, I would say Karlaftis probably goes ahead of Dean, and I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give him Karlaftis because I think they did a lot of homework on the edges, so they're probably pretty happy he's here. And I think Belichick's kind of laughing to the bank at the fact that he gets probably the best linebacker in the draft here, Nakobe Dean.
I think you're right. I have a different pick happening here for. I have a different pick here for the New England Patriots. I do have them going linebacker, but it is not Nakobe Dean. I am going Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah.
Well, that's just probably my SEC bias showing, but Georgia makes some good linebackers.
Georgia produces good players all over the ball. So here we are to Green Bay. I'm pretty certain if they don't take a wide receiver, somebody's gonna die.
But which wide receiver is the question?
And that's the problem that we're looking at right now is we have moved throughout the board. A lot of wide receivers off the board. I think we have 4 wide receivers off. Olave, Wilson, London for me is off the board.
Yeah, I still got London, and I feel like if London's here, he's probably the pick, right?
I feel like he would be the pick for Green Bay. For me, he's not available. So we're going to piss off Aaron Rodgers with my pick, probably.
You're taking a quarterback?
Yeah, we're just going to keep adding quarterbacks to the roster until eventually he likes it. Man, I don't like how this board fell for Green Bay at all.
I don't think honestly I could see them like passing on London here. I don't think London is that great. I'd pass on him.
Yeah, I don't see him passing on. The league seems to be really high on him. And that's normally an indication that a player is going to go higher than we think.
Well, he slid here, so welcome to Green Bay, Drake London.
Man, I do not like how this board fell at all. I did not think about this when I was running through it. I was just drafting good players for good teams.
Well, that's how the actual draft works.
Yeah, pretty much. You just have to get over it and deal with it, I suppose. As much as this hurts me to do, oh, golly, man, I don't want to do this because I really want him to be available later. Edge is a need for Green Bay. George Karlaftis is on the board here. I think he is a player that can step in there in Green Bay and do something of value for them. But I think with my next pick, I have something interesting that's going to happen.
Okay, thank God. So we're pretty much even now because
I think most of us, I think we mostly have the same players off the board.
yeah, there's I think the difference is you have Pickett and I have Devin Lloyd, which isn't that big of a deal here in a few picks. But yeah, it doesn't matter that much. So you have Karlaftis going to Green Bay at pick 22. That's fine.
Yep.
Cardinals, weird pick.
Weird pick. I think I know who I have them taking here. It's a defensive back.
I'm kind of feeling Andrew Booth.
That's kind of who I had in pictured.
Yeah, just best corner available. Pair him with Byron Murphy. There's some good wide receivers out west.
There are some good wide receivers out there. Thankfully, they have one of them on their team that they don't have to worry about.
Oh, yeah. But Andrew Booth has probably some of the best ball skills in the draft. So,
yeah. Wow, he is fun. God, he is fun.
Really good player.
Terrell, and I was low on Terrell, so I'm probably too low on Booth here, but it sounds like the league's a lot lower. So,
well, I think the Cardinals are getting a good player here. All right, tonight on Dallas, what is Jerry going to do?
Well, it's Jerry.
Oh, no. I know exactly.
Fun. You know who I want to take here.
Traylon Burks?
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
Who?
Okay, so this is so stupid to me, but I like it. So hear me out. And I'm like a little kid in a candy store. And I feel like this just fits. But, okay, hold up. I kind of overlooked something. I'm stupid for this. Nope, I'm going Traylon Burks. I'm sorry. Nope, Traylon Burks the pick.
Did you forget about the Arkansas?
I forgot about the Arkansas. Yep, I did.
Yep.
Plus, and they got rid of Amari Cooper. Everybody right now is looking for their Debo.
Yeah, they lost.
Burks. He's not a Cooper wide receiver, but Traylon Burks is my guy.
They lost Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson, brought back Michael Gallup. I thought they were going to keep Cedric Wilson. They didn't. So they'll have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Jerry's Arkansas boy, Traylon Burks.
Yep. And honestly, that's not a bad pick. I like Traylon Burks, but not as a true wide receiver. He has a lot of work to do to become a true wide receiver, but there's a lot there to like.
Okay, this one is one that we discussed before recording, and I'm going to stick to my guns here. The Bills could very easily view the fact that they lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs because they couldn't control the time of possession. They lost to the Patriots when the Patriots just ran the ball down their throat and they couldn't run the ball and had to throw it in a snowstorm. And they tried to address running back with J.D. McKissick, was it? Who then decided not to sign with them. So I think that Buffalo views their roster as very complete. I think it's a really good roster. And I think they pick kind of a luxury pick here. And he's not running back one on a lot of people's board, but I think Kenneth Walker is the best fit for Buffalo as far as running backs go. And I think he'd be very good for them. Is it great positional value-wise? No, but I could very easily see them talking themselves into this.
And you know what? I don't disagree with you here because there's two other players on my board right here that I could really like for there's a few other players on the board I could really like for Buffalo. One of them, since we're in the back half of the first round, is Tariq Woolen out of UTSA. Big physical specimen at corner that I think what they do in Buffalo is develop DBs so well that I think he fits there. I like Kyler Gordon for them. I like Kyrie Elam for them. I also like Daxton Hill for them because he's a Swiss Army knife for a defense that, man, they know how to use them. They just do. But I come back to the same place that you do. I think they're going to take a running back because they've realized how important it is to run the ball when it's windy, snowy, and you just can't throw it. Josh Allen has an arm that can throw through a brick wall, but sometimes you just can't do that. I'm going to go a different running back. I've already told you who I think they're going to take just because that's how the NFL works. I don't agree with it. I would take Kenneth Walker, but I think they're going to take Brees Hall if they take running back.
All right, so that brings us to the Titans. And what do the Titans need? I'm going to be very bold here and say that I think there's a world where this pick is Desmond Ridder. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I think there's a scenario where it happens.
Okay. I'm going to be bold here and say I think there's a situation where this happens and this picks George Pickens. I don't think it happens, though. Vrabel is a defensive guy, and I'm really hoping he does what I want him to do here. This is where I have linebacker Nakobe Dean coming off the board.
All right, well, I had Dean going to the Patriots, so I'll just give them Lloyd because in some of my mock drafts, I have Dean going to the Titans. So, and they lost Rashaan Evans to the Falcons, which I don't feel like that was publicized at all.
Not really.
But it happened, so they take the linebacker that the Patriots didn't want here. And I think that's pretty realistic.
Yep, I think that's a good pick for the Titans. I mean, he's probably – Nakobe Dean's a top 10 player in the class for me, so.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are to the Bucks. They need some help on the interior offensive line. It's not a flashy pick, but it's a Bucks pick. Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M. I don't think that this is a hard pick for them to make. I just think it happens.
I've seen it happen in a lot of mocks. I think this is a very weird spot for the Bucks to be picking, and they probably, if a team wants to come up to get a quarterback, what's a team that you think would come up here to get a quarterback?
I don't really know who would come up because the only other team that I really have that would be looking for a quarterback this year, potentially, would be the Saints. The Saints could be looking for a quarterback in the future.
And they're not going to trade with the Bucks.
They're not going to trade with the Bucks. Come get it. The only other one I have is the Panthers, but I don't have the Panthers selecting quarterback, and they're not trading with the Bucks. So all my teams that are really quarterback needy, they can't trade here.
To me, it would make sense for a quarterback needy team to come up here with the Bucks, but in division, it's not going to happen. So
no, I guess, and that's the thing is that's really the only division that's quarterback needy right now. I mean, Oakland's not coming up for a quarterback this year. Las Vegas, sorry, but they're not coming up for a quarterback this year.
So I guess it has to be.
I think the Bucks stay with his pick and take the best interior offensive lineman available.
You have Kenyon Green over Zion Johnson?
Well, I have I said available. I already have Zion Johnson off the board.
Really? Where'd you have him go?
I had him going 20 to the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think the Panthers need to build a line before they can draft a quarterback, and that's where I have them starting with this rock-solid guard.
Do you think the Bucks would take Zion or Kenyon Green if they're both available?
I want to say they'd take Zion, but Kenyon Green's a good player.
Let's just keep up the symmetry and go Kenyon Green. I feel like I've seen this in mock drafts before.
All right, and our boys are back on the clock. Sorry for cutting you off there, Connor. My bad.
Nah, you're good.
I hate that this pick's going to happen here.
This feels like a trade out, if there ever is one.
No, this feels like the pick that I think we both know that it's going to be, and I don't think either of us want to admit it.
No.
Yep.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's happening.
They're not taking Pickens here.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to take
they're taking Pickens. Let's not
Wait, who did you have him? I had him taking Drake London at 22.
Yeah, you had him taking London. I had him taking George Karlaftis.
Well, screw you. They already took a receiver in mine.
Well, I like yours better, okay, Connor?
Do they need a center?
They drafted Josh Myers last year.
You know what? No, I think I know what I'm going to do here.
I hope you do.
Daxton Hill.
It's a defensive weapon.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Because you have Jair Alexander as your CB1, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin King is still on roster, and he's been a liability. Who are your safeties and who are your corners outside of Jair Alexander?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you.
Exactly. So you bring in Daxton Hill.
Well, you need Darnell Savage.
Yeah. So it's not great. So you have Daxton Hill who can come in and play wherever he's needed to be. And I think it's a solid pick here for Green Bay. He's from the Big Ten. He's played in the cold. I like it.
You can convince me on that. All right, then at pick 29, George Pickens comes off the board.
We already know damn well who we're going to pick these next two.
I hope it's going to be George Pickens and Boye Mafe. Slide it however you want.
I'm going to do Boye Mafe first because
that's Chiefs fans' dream as of right now.
Dude, I've seen so many people complain about Boye Mafe. Quick rant, okay? I've seen so many Chiefs fans complain about the idea of taking Boye Mafe at 29, but they want to trade both picks up to go get Jermaine Johnson. And their main complaint about Boye Mafe is he's 23. He's the same age as Jermaine Johnson, and he's a much better pass rusher. Give me George Pickens and Boye Mafe over just Jermaine Johnson any day.
I can agree.
And the thing with George Pickens is I've seen a lot of people agree that this dude is a first-round talent without a doubt, but apparently the dude's kind of an asshole, and he's been not great in interviews, and it's more classic Kansas City Chiefs, but I think John Dorsey would take him here.
Yeah, I mean, we had Marcus Peters.
Yeah, so I think
that pretty much says all you need to say about that.
Yeah. I love him. I love George Pickens. If we draft Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, or Christian Watson, I'm genuinely going to bawl my eyes out. But yeah,
I can live with Christian Watson. I really can. I prefer Sky, but
he's the worst one to me.
I think Sky's the best out of those available.
You already had Sky gone before Pickens?
No, I don't. Sky's on the board for me.
Okay.
But here we go.
This one's a no-brainer.
Cincinnati Bengals. This is a really easy pick. It should be. I mean, I do. Actually, this pick may not be as easy as we think it is. Looking at it now, because there's a corner on the board that should probably go here.
Who?
Kyrie Elam.
Well, I'm going to give him Tyler Linderbaum. We saw in the Super Bowl Aaron Donald come up the middle and just completely wreck the Bengals. And Tyler Linderbaum, you could make an argument for being the best offensive lineman in this class. So you go ahead and get your own version of Creed Humphrey, more or less. You know he's going to come in and he's going to be a great center for Joe Burrow for the next 5 years at least. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Okay. I'm going to go Kyrie Elam. I think he's the best corner available. We saw what happened to Eli Apple last year is kind of my argument here. So
that's reasonable.
Yep, Kyrie Elam's my pick.
Okay.
Pick 32 is a fun one for me. It's probably not a position of need for him, but I think it's a good player, and you draft good football players.
Who you got?
Georgia Bulldog, Devontae Wyatt.
Okay. To me, in a lot of my mock drafts, because, we took Hutchinson in this mock draft, and in a lot of mine, I go Malik Willis at 2 for the Lions and Lewis Cine at 32 because I feel like Lewis Cine is the best player available at this point for them. But Jared Goff lost them multiple games this year. I do not think Jared Goff is a good quarterback. And I think at pick 32, you have the option to get that fifth-year option on a quarterback. And I am of the belief that we are going to see 3 quarterbacks go in the first round this year. Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and Desmond Ridder. And that's who I have going at 32. I have the Lions taking Desmond Ridder.
Ridder reminds me of a quarterback. Reminds me a lot of a certain quarterback.
Who's that?
It's a quarterback that me and you are both very familiar with.
Where are you going with this?
Former Washington football team quarterback, former Kansas City Chief quarterback, and former.
You're comparing Desmond to Alex. That's not an insult at all.
Here's my problem with that, is we all saw how Alex Smith struggled to move the ball in the cold weather.
Okay. Or they play in a dome.
Well, they do. Green Bay doesn't.
Chicago's about to. Minnesota does.
I mean, it's fair. It worries me a little bit. But
I like it.
At 32, I think you're right. I think a quarterback could be a pick. I feel like Matt Corral could be an interesting pick here for them. He's a little bit more of a reach. but he gives you a little bit more with his arm. But I like Desmond Ridder. You know, he's a proven winner. I like him better than I like Kenny Pickett, and I think that's going to round out our first round.
Yep. So, you know, because we recorded this, there's going to be a trade tomorrow that completely ruins this, but
Yep. Man, we'll run back through it again tomorrow after it gets ruined.
well, hopefully this ages well. Could you imagine, like, if I got all 32 picks right?
If one of us hits on this, I would be surprised. Because
I wonder.
nobody has any idea what's happening with this.
Yeah, like last year, I'm very proud of the fact that I got 1 through 7. That's not happening this year.
No. If I get 1 through 6 right, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I feel like 1 through 5, well, I say that, but we had extensive discussions about 1, 2, and 3. So,
Yep.
I don't know.
Alrighty. Well, let's close this up and be done with it.
All right. Bye.
Later.